Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. All right, going to spend some time with Dian Griesel. Diane responded to a request we had through a service we use, looking for busy CEOs, and she certainly sounds like one. Diane, thanks for joining us here on today's show.
Thank you very much.
And first of all, before we get started on the life and times of a busy CEO, and you know what, almost every CEO, any business owner today is busier than he used to be, as I'm sure you can attest. But we're interested in your unique story. Tell us about what your company's all about and those things you're involved in. I notice you've got a couple of interests, and so that makes you all the more busy.
Well, we're involved with all kinds of things. I own a communications firm with my namesake called Dian Griesel, Inc. I own a publishing company called the Business School of Happiness, where we post all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm also the co-creator of the turbocharged book series for rapid fat loss.
For rapid fat loss. All right. Did you say book series?
Book series, yeah. There's turbocharged.
So are they like really, really heavy books that you carry in order? No, forget it. I'm sorry. You only get muscle, not weight loss. So that isn't right. That's interesting. So you carry a lot of different things.
Yeah. Plus, I'm a mom and a wife.
Yeah. Well, you got to give up somewhere. But anyway, how many kids you got?
I've got 2 kids, 9 and 12.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you know, those are both in rather surprisingly emotionally needy times. A few years earlier, they were needy all across the board, but I think the emotional needy quotient goes up pretty big when they enter that adolescent stage.
Isn't that true?
So, yeah, there's a lot of demands on you. And so, very interesting. So, with these different interests, how do you manage, first of all, 3 different companies without doing one of them part-time, or are you doing them part-time?
You know what my theory is? Surround yourself with the absolute best people you can in any way, whether it's volunteers or people you pay for their services. Find the best you can and tell them what your vision is, and let them run with it. And only if they start to go off course, pull it back. But otherwise, let them run. Mm-hmm. Don't be a Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah, or a backseat driver. Absolutely. People need to, if they don't trust the people to handle those things, either A, they need to do some personal development of themselves to learn how to trust in a team because they're stuck as a solopreneur and not a true business owner, or B, they need to let go of those people they can't trust because they must have some legitimate reason for not trusting them.
You know, you just nailed it. When people say, well, I could never let go of that control, I don't trust anyone enough, there are certain things you want to keep your finger on. You want to keep your finger on the finances. You want to keep your finger on client happiness and retention in whatever business you're on. But if you don't have people you can trust, then you've got the wrong people around you.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Or again, you've got your own control issues. And that's a huge problem. A lot of people, there's a great book by Robert Kiyosaki called Cash Flow Quadrant. And anyone can read this, but it's very profound in terms of its understanding of the business environment. 20% of the people make 80% of the money. 80% of the people make 20% of the money. And the people that are making the least, which is the largest part of the population, are employees and self-employed. And those who are making the most and the smallest number of the population are business owners and investors. And a lot of people call themselves business owners, but the reality is they're really solopreneurs, which means they're sometimes worse off than employees because they work way more than 40 hours. They work incredibly hard all the time, and they don't have a whole lot to show for it because of overhead and other challenges that they have, whereas they make so much more if they could draw off the money of help.
Well, there's so much truth in that. There are so many challenges you face as an entrepreneur, and one is making sure you get paid in the process, which, there's 2 schools of thought. One is, pay yourself first and then pay everyone second. I actually come from the other school of thought. I often pay myself last, but I'm looking at the big picture and the vision. And I always look at the bigger payoff. And if I can't see the bigger payoff while I'm not getting paid, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dian Griesel, she is a busy entrepreneur, a busy CEO trying to make it all work. So tell us what you do. What are some of the techniques you're using to keep yourself sane in what looks like a pretty insane business environment?
I'm a big believer in lists. I've made lists my whole life, and one of the things I did this year, instead of carrying around a huge notebook, I switched over to an iPad and used the lists on the iPad, and I use it to check off. It marks the date it was on, so it's great as handling a calendar. And so this year I said I was going to try, it was my New Year's resolution, to try to use as much technology to help me out as possible. And that's been a big plus.
Awesome, very good. And I was just curious, as an aside, you mentioned that you have DGI Communications. What exactly is that market, that business?
What we do is we represent publicly traded companies, and a lot of those are run by entrepreneurs. And we take those companies out to investors and out to the media. We help shape their corporate stories, help them tell their stories so they can reach the largest group of possible interested parties. And we are completely impartial as to the channels we use. So whether we're using the internet or television or radio or print or going directly to investors, it doesn't make any difference to us. We believe every channel is important to the overall understanding of a corporate story.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it doesn't hurt to have an entity, a PR firm, to help your other business entities as well. I'm sure your firm represents your other companies.
It's very good. Look at how lucky I am to be speaking to you this morning.
There
and
you
don't
go.
think I take that for granted.
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely. And so tell me, so what are some other things? You manage lists, and let me tell you, lists are a consistent theme I hear from highly successful people, and it seems so so mediocre. It seems so, mundane. But I'm telling you, lists is one of those things that keep people together.
They really do. You need to stay organized. And another thing is that I learned I was very fortunate to have a retired 3-star admiral work with me at one point as one of my chief operating officers. And he gave me another great one to live by as an entrepreneur, which is you get what you inspect, not what you expect.
You get ooh.
And entrepreneurs tend to surround themselves with people that they think are going to be just like them, which is self-motivated. And sometimes you get that, and sometimes you don't. It's not that people aren't motivated. I think most people really want to do a good job at whatever their job is, especially if they're recognized for it. But they might need to be inspected once in a while instead of just expecting it to be done.
That is awesome. I'm going to remember that, I think. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. And he probably also told you that the captain must go down with the ship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I had an entrepreneur tell me, a mentor of mine actually tell me that, he believes in the walking approach to leadership. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, I believe that business owners who walk around the business a lot, kind of showing up, to be seen by employees with frequency, makes for a higher quality organization all the time, rather than the detached leader who everyone's pretty predictable as to where he's going to be and when he's going to be there. Doesn't mean he's controlling, he's not looking over your shoulder per se, but he's seen and he's interacting. He's asking a lot of people, even low-level people, how they're doing, and he's just creating an environment that expects productivity.
Well, we work my mother teases me, and she still says, you're still playing school just like you did when you were a little girl, because we work in a wide-open environment that has no walls except for our conference rooms and obviously our bathrooms, and it's very loft-like. And we don't use business titles.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Dian Griesel, I appreciate you being with me. Great stuff. Give me that line one more time about the what you inspect rather than what you expect.
You get what you inspect from people, not what you expect.
I like that. I'm going to write that down. All right, great stuff. You have several websites, but I think it'd be smart just to give one. Which one do you want to promote?
DGICOMM, as in DGICommunications.com.
Yep, DGICOMM.com. Hey, Dian, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
You bet. When we come back, we're going to have more for you. I do want to remind you, the show continues 24/7 over at priceofbusiness.com. While there, like it on Facebook. Follow it on Twitter.